Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. So yesterday we were working on getting our dialog box working, so we can now accept a big string. One string is a parameter to our dialog box. It'll print it up, it'll parse it out line by line and page by page. So that works because we've hard-coded the line count, which calculates the total page length. So we need to modify our code so that we can do other stuff like, calculate our page length and line count. So let's dig into it. I know we've got to do, let's see. So we've got, yeah, we'll have to clean this up. So like this, for example, we need to calculate this character count based on the length of the string that we end up placing. But we've got a lot of stuff working. It's just that when we come in here, yeah, see, look, we need to calculate our total line count instead of just hard coding it. But then again, we put in a 4 here. Oh, okay. So the way we're calculating our total page length is we count how many total lines we have. So this should be an easy enough fix. We just need to take our total line count, and what we're going to do is initialize our total line count to be equal to nothing. So total line count will be initialized as 0, and we just need to increment our total line count every time we successfully add a line. So anytime we increment the line we are on, and I guess maybe we can say that we start at total line count of 1, because if you give in any amount of, you're not going to pass a dialog box without a dialog. So we can assume that there's at least 1. And then any time that we increment our line that we're on, we're going to increment the line count. So that the first time we go to line 2, we're actually going to be having a line count worth of 2. And we have to keep it separate because we're actually flushing the line we're on if we pass the threshold of 3 lines. So if line's greater than 1, we flush line we're on. So that's why we need a different variable. Even though these two are doing the same thing, just incrementing, we need to keep it separate because we could have, up to 6 lines in our line count, but the line we are on only goes to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I think that's why we need to keep it separate. We'll take a look at what character count is actually doing so we can determine if we need any different length, because it's still working right now, but I think it might be, I'm actually curious what that's doing. So instead of hard coding the total line count here, now what we're doing is we're saying that our page length is equal to our total line count divided by 3 and then rounded up. Look at that Jimmy's face. Oh my god. It's like a Godzilla over there. I didn't even move the camera or check the camera, so that was kind of funny. Okay, so we're calculating the page length based on the line count. Let's see if it works. It should work the same. Oh god. Line count is a nil value. What line was that? 82. Line count gets line count plus 1. we should have this. Self.line count. Oh, total line count. It's called total line count. Yeah, total line count. Okay. Okay, so line count is what we're using in the print function. So this needs to be our total line count increment. Okay, we should be working. There's our first page. There's our second page. Okay. So once we hit the A button after, once we're on the last page, right? Current page is 2 at this point. Then we exit. So let's try giving it 3 pages and see if that works. So this should be on page 2 now. And lastly, this text should be on page 3. Oh my gosh. It works. It works. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go into our... Let's look at what our character count is doing. I think it has something to do with the render. We have a character count that we're assigning here. And let's see what it's actually doing. Okay, so in the render, we're updating our text timer. If we're bigger than the text timer threshold, depending which line we're at, we're asking if the text index is greater than the character count of the given page. And if it is, we're going to advance the line. So I guess what this is responsible for is advancing the line we are printing text to and resetting our text index. So this is all have to do with rendering the text 1 character at a time. So if this character count is not 19, which most of them end up being 19, right? Because we're counting spaces. So I guess it's not really that big of a deal. Because I think the only time it would matter is, well, if text index is greater than character count. Yeah, I don't think we need this. I think we can hard code this in if the text index is greater than 19, because that's how many characters can fit on any given line, then we need to advance the line. So I say we give us a constant variable called like max line character count or whatever, and then we can just check against that. Because the thing is, it's working fine. It's working fine. I guess the only thing we might want to possibly need is like if we wanted specific text to be like, if we wanted like 3 letters on the first line, 3 letters on the second line, 3 letters on the next line, then we might want to be able to change the value of the positioning of the lines, but I can't really imagine a scenario that we do want to do that. And if so, we can just add spaces, the right amount of spaces. So I don't think it's that big a deal. So I think the move is we'll take this character count and we'll just get rid of it and we'll assign a constant. So let's look for any reference of 19 here. Okay. Yeah, let's add this to our constants. So we're going to call this... Do we do anything with the line or character here? Text line offset? we can put it here. We'll say max char length or max text box line length is 19. Okay. And then we don't need any of these. And then we should be able to just put in our max line length here. Yeah. And we don't need any of these anymore either. And then where do we increment the page we're on? We do it right here. Okay. So we've already got this. Okay, we should be good. Let's test it and see. Oh no. 233. Okay, so anytime we use the character count, we need to put in the max line length. Yeah. This is awesome. This is awesome. So what's really cool about this is this solves two problems. One, it solves the printf problem of not being able to know when a part of a string should be on the next page, because printf takes in a limit for a character, and then it just automatically moves the characters to the next line. But using printf, we can't tell when a line is wrapped or not. All we do is give it a whole string and then give it a limit, and it'll just put on the next line, all that stuff. So one, we can have multiple pages now where printf didn't give us that. And then two, a word that can't fit on a given line won't start to print on that given line. And maybe we should test it. Oh god, I forgot that crashes us. We gotta fix that too. Let's see. If we go to our map declarations here, we can try to give one more character here. Now, since that character can't fit on the given line, it should move it to the next line, and it does. Oh no, oh no, 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 no. Why? Oh no. This is weird. Okay, it's looping the first instance of word correctly, so I'm thinking we're just not resetting something, because it's not counting any subsequent word, but it loops what, the first word that needs to fit. Let's see. Because none of those, oh gosh, I always forget that. We've got 5 minutes to commit before midnight for our green box for the day. Yeah, okay. So, like, well, this is weird, because it's looping, it's looping page correctly because page is on the next page, and it's looping lastly correctly because lastly's on the next page. So it's kind of working. Let's commit here before we lose our streak on GitHub. We'll say that this is dialog box rendering or multi-page texts. Okay. So let's try to see, let's walk through the line limit. It'll be in the init. because I think something's not working with the... Once we find a word, you know, if a word can fit on the current line, we're appending it. We reset that. We reset. Okay. Do we ever reset our line character count upon a new line or a new page? I don't think we do. Oh. This one, we set it to be the word character count, which gets reset. I think it might have something to do with this. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is go back, and we're going to add one line of character here to make the text loop or wrap. And then, see, look at this. Oh, we're not checking the last line maybe, because it loops. So like, look, it loops this one correctly. Instead of it fitting here, it couldn't fit here. So it put it on the next line. And then evenly couldn't fit here. So it put it on the next line. But we don't have a check for whether or not it can fit on the last line of the 3. Oh, see, but then it messes up here. So if we count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, yeah. So once we get to this one, you know, we get to a character that's not a space, we go ahead and cycle through until we find a space, and that's the word count, and we say if the word count plus the line count is greater than the 19 character limit, then we need to append it to the next line. We need to increment our line count. So that's not working. I'm wondering did we have like a parentheses there? No, we didn't. Or apostrophe, whatever that's. Let's see. Okay, I mean, that fixed our should problem, but not our now. More text now. This is evenly more text now. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, there's 6 characters. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, 19 should be the last one we allow words to be added on, but I think since it's the last line, we're not doing a check there. So we do check if the line character count plus the word character count is smaller than the line length, else if it's greater than the line length. So why wouldn't this be happening? You know, we're only checking this if it's a space character. So if it is a not space character, how do we do this? If it's a not space character and our line character count plus our word character count is greater than this, we need to increment the page number that we're on and then append it. Just like we're doing here. So maybe instead of checking, well, let's see, you know, we check if it's a letter. And then we check, okay, so what is this? If we find a letter, we snag the word index. We become word index grabbed. And then we increment our word character count. Then for as long as we find a letter, we're going to go ahead and increment our word character count. Then by the time we find a space, and maybe this is where it's happening, like there's a space after now on the first page here. And once we find that space, we see if the line character count plus the word character count is smaller than the length. If so, append it on the current line. Otherwise, if we're bigger than, oh, we don't have an equal to. Oh, we do have an equal to up here. If we're equal to the line length, we can go ahead and add it to that line. If it's bigger than the line length, then we have to increment the line we're on. But if the line we're on is greater than 3, we reset it, increment our page that we're on, and then go ahead and add the new page worth of default values. Then we go ahead and say, go ahead, append the word to the current string, become no longer word index grabbed, so we can snag another beginning of the word, and then set our line character count to be equal to the word character count that we just have, and then reset our word character count back to 0 so we can start counting words again. What is this? This is because we use text index for both the init as well as the render. So we just have to reset text index back to 1 after this. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure why we are able to add the word, you know, like let's take the 20th character on the current text parameter. The 20th character is the W of now for this string here. I already messed it up. The 20th character on line 3 is this evenly more text now. So why isn't now getting pushed to the next page? It should be. So let's walk it through. It would be, we would increment our text index. Oh, but once our text index is past our text length, we're gonna break from the loop. So I think we might have to do like one more check here that says like if our text index is equal to 20, well, I think that we break the loop prematurely here because we're not able to add that last word over to the next page, because in order to increment the page, we have to, where are we incrementing the page? Right here. We have to be greater than the line length, which we are. We increment our line that we are on, and then since we would be on line 4 at this point, we're going to go ahead and say we're actually on line 1. We increment our page, we give us a new page, and then we concatenate onto the new page there. So for some reason, the W of now isn't getting put on this next line. So evenly more text now. See, we're putting the now on screen there, even though it can't fit in the limit here. So if it's greater than the limit, yeah, we check. If it's greater than the limit, we should be incrementing the line we're on properly. I would think we are. And we can't really print and see this because this is all in the init, not in the update function, so we can't really check this without a proper debugger. But Yeah, because I'm curious if we add... I think if we add a bunch of text at the end of this word, it won't count. It'll technically add that to line 3. That's what I'm thinking. I think it'll add it to line 3 here. Oh, it doesn't. Oh. So maybe we're just counting the line. Huh. That's, I guess, reassuring, because I think that means that we just have this part wrong. If our line count, we're either messing up our word character count. Oh God, how do we even check this? Where do we increment our line character count? We do it, we increment our word character count. Oh, if it's a space, we need to increment our word. Oh no, we don't. We need to increment our line character count. If it is a space, oh, we do that here. Yeah, so if we find a space character, we need to not only add all of the word count for the given word, but also add the word, add one for the space we added. I guess I'm still not understanding why this is happening. If we have a word with one too many, we can say nows. Instead of now, does it put nows on the next line? Yeah, it does. Huh. So we must be, well, it's weird because it's working on every other line. Every other line is flawless. It's just this third line. It's just this last line that isn't working. So we must be doing something wrong with the third line only. I mean, I don't know what else it would be. So what happens when we increment our page to another page? Are we resetting our word character count? We do, but after we set our line character count to be the word character count, I feel like we might need to set this to 0. I feel like we might need to set word character count to 0 if we're here. No. If we increment our page, we go ahead and put... So I think at this point in time, once we hit this condition, we're already wrong, right? Because we're only putting... Like, we advance the page we're on if our line count... If the line we are on is greater than 3, we advance our page. And that's what we're concatenating our string to. So that can't be wrong, because we're concatenating our string to the wrong page. So I think we're messing up here. Well, it's so weird that adding one other character fixes it. So I feel like we're just off by 1 here, but it's weird that every other... if our current line character count plus our word is smaller than, maybe we need this to be... Well, no, because 19 characters should be able to fit. So if we just swap the equality here, I still think it's wrong. Well, that does fix it. Huh. That does fix it. Let's see if we take this character out. Let's see if it's still okay. See, no. It's 1 character shy. well, see, then that's so weird. It can print all the way to the end there. It's just not wanting to do it on the first line. Yeah. See, it should. This is strange. What is going on? We're off by one error somewhere. Because right here, we're able to. This line is able to go all the way over to the right. But once we add this 6 in there, it puts it on the next line. So there's something not getting reset right. Or either the word count or the character count. Either the word count, yeah, see, that's wrong. I think the word count might not be getting reset on subsequent lines. Let's see, if we find break. Getting late. Yeah, this isn't quite right. The logic we had was more right. Like, if it's equal to the line length, we can go ahead and add it. If it's greater than the line length, we have to go ahead and increment the line count we're on. But also, we're adding the word count. Let's see, we're adding the word character count. Yeah, we're adding the substring of the whole word, starting from the word index, ending at the word character count. So if we're appending, let's say, a 3-letter word, we would start at the index and then add 3 to that index. I think that might be wrong. Because if we're adding a 3-letter word, we would start at the word index, and we would end at the word index plus 1 less than the word character count. So that we would end on the end of the word instead of 1 past the end of the word. Huh. It didn't add. See, now it's not adding those spaces properly. This is even more text now, isn't it? That's so weird that it only messes up on like the subsequent lines first words. Oh, but we do that. Oh, okay. Well, we have to do that for here too. Let's do this. For every situation we're adding. Well, I still think that'll be wrong too. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay. So that's not it. But it's only messing up on the last line. Well, see, that's really close. That's really close. But if we add 1 character here, then it messes up our last line. No, it doesn't. Is that right now? No. Okay, let's add... I mean, that looks right if we add 1 more character here. Let's see if the now gets screwed up. There it is. Okay. Okay. So why is that wrong? How come we're adding the now to the current line, even though the line count plus the word character count is past our 19 character threshold? Because that should be right here. You know, we find a space. So like at the end of the line, at the end of now, we find a space. And then at that point, we're saying if our line character count plus our word count is greater than the max text box line length, which is 19, then we're going to increment the line we're on. And if the line we're on is greater than 3, we're actually on line 1, and we increment the page we're on. And then we append the word to the current page we're on. And then we set our line character count equal to the word character count. And then, see, why do we do this? Word character count gets 0. I guess we need this. I'm going to turn that off and just see if it changes anything. Okay, yeah. That definitely does. We have to reset the word character count because we're not, we have to reset the word character count so that we're properly counting the words for the next line. And then we snag the new line character count from the current word character count before we flush it. Okay. It's only page 3 that this is messing up on. And page 3 is only ever triggered right here by the time we increment a page. But, oh, it's not that it's not page 3, it's line 3. So it's like whenever we're greater than 3, if our line we're on ever gets to 4, then we go back to 1. So this isn't the part that it's wrong, because the first page, the first line on the next page is correct. It's when we increment line that we're on and it's equal to 3 that it's wrong. So that's so weird that line 2 seems to be working proper. Is it? Because, well, I guess let's take out one character of evenly and see if it messes up there too. We're trying to see on line 2 if it loops properly. Oh. See, that one's wrong too. So it is every subsequent line. Every subsequent line isn't being added proper. Okay, so we're getting closer. So anytime, we find a space, we check if we're under the text box length. If we are, we append it to the current page, and that's working. Well, it's not really working because we're appending it. This should be if we're equal to 19 characters. So it's got to be our line character count that's getting wrong. Our line character count has to be wrong. I don't see how our word character count is wrong because we only increment it anytime we find a letter, and then we flush it to 0 if we add it here, and we flush it to 0 once we add it here too. But yeah. So that should be all right. I think it's line character count that it's getting wrong. So I think we might it might be this line right here. Because we added a +1 so that if we find a space character, we need to add, this has got to be it. Yeah, if we find a space character, but we're under the limit of what can fit on the line, we append our word. We set our word character count to 0, and then we set our line character count. See, this is weird. We set our line character count to be equal to the current count plus the word count plus the space. I think we might need to do it the other way around. I think we need to only do this, only add the word count, but anytime we find a character, oh, see, that's wrong too, because we need to add the space to our current line count, but only if there's a word that comes directly after it. If there's, well, yeah, how does that work? Because we can't just add a space count at the end of every word we find. Actually, yeah, why not? It was just busted. Like, it just didn't work. Because right here, you know, once we find a space, we're checking. Maybe once we find a space, do we have to increment our line character count here? Once we find a space? No, I think that doesn't work either, because we only need to add it if the word can fit on the current line. Well, that looks to be fixed, but I'm a little tempted, or like I don't believe that fixed it, you know, to do some more testing. Because, okay, yeah, see, we're not doing the last, see, this is wrong. We're not printing all the way across the screen if it fits. Yeah, see, that 5 should fit on the screen and it's not fitting. So that is wrong. Yeah. See, yeah, it's like 2 characters short. We're just not doing the spaces right. So we're really close. Okay, so the idea is when we get to the end of a word, we're deciding that the end of a word is if we find a space. It's like if we find a character, that's where we do this word index grabbed. So like if we find a character and we're not already having grabbed a word index, then we're going to go ahead and snag that word index as the current character index we're on, become word index grabbed true. We're going to count how many characters are part of this word, and as soon as we find a space, that's when we're saying, okay, that counts as a word, so now let's see if we can insert it into the current line. So we're saying if the line character count plus that word we just found is smaller than or equal to that 19 character limit, we're going to go ahead and append it. And then we're going to increment, we're going to increment the line character count by the line character count plus the word character count. Now where this screws up is if this isn't the last word we're adding on the current line. Because if this isn't, if let's say we have 1 2 3 space 1 2 3 space 1 2 3, the first time we add a 1 2 3, or like, you know, as soon as we find a space after that first 1 2 3, we're going to be on a line character count of, and you know what, would that be on 1 or 2 or 0? Do we initialize line character count to 0? Yeah, we do. Okay, so the line character count would be, well, let's see, we don't increment the line character count until we add a word, which is right here. So it'd be 0 plus the 3 for the 1 2 3 word character count. But here's where it gets messed up, because we're going to say, okay, our line character count is now 0 plus the 3-character word. We're going to reset our word character count back to 0 so we can count a new one. But what we didn't count was the space. We didn't count that space. So the next time we get to the next 1, 2, 3, we're going to be counting. Our line character count is going to be counting as if we're 1 index behind because we didn't count that space. So that's why I had the +1 in there. But the +1, the +1 in here, I think is that off by 1 error. Because what we're doing is we're saying if our line character count, if how many characters we have in our current string plus the words in our new word, the characters in our new word that we're about to add is smaller than or equal to the 19, then we can go ahead and append it. But the error is we're appending it on a line that it shouldn't belong to. And that is telling me that this line character count is probably being calculated wrong. Yeah, it sucks because see why? Line character count. Maybe we only append it. Well, shit, man. I don't get why it's only the last word of either the second or third line. The first line is fine. The first line works. Second or third line is only off by 1 character because we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we go in here and we do it at a 6. See, because the first line, okay, well, we'll add the 7. I think the first line handles it fine. Yeah, see, 7 can print all the way to the end there. All 19 characters, including those 2 spaces. But then if we try to do one more letter on line 2, I think that'll actually work, but if we were to add one more letter, it wouldn't add at to the next line. Instead of, it should be moving at to the next line. Yeah. See, because that's an at there, not an a. So we're just not moving that to the next line. Where we're moving it correctly for the first. We're moving it correctly for the first line because if we add one more character to the first line, it does move it to the next line here. Yeah. Okay, so I don't get why. It's just like a simple bug off by 1 somewhere. So why is it that it works fine on line 1? Do we ever reset? We reset our text. No, our text index starts at 1, I believe. Text index, starts at 0. Maybe that's the issue. No. As soon as because that's the first thing we do is increment that to 1. And then we snag that character from the text index. Then we check, okay. If it's a letter, okay. If it can fit. Man, I feel like we're off. It's just off by 1. You know, we would be Where it would be going wrong is appending it to the line when it should be incrementing the line. So it should be, you know, this line character count plus word count is not being... This has got to be calculated wrong. God, I think it has to do something with this +1. If we find a space, we add the word and then count the space that we just added. So do we have to add... If we don't find a space, we don't add our line character count because we're still counting how many characters are in the word. Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to think, because it's like it works for all the characters no matter how many spaces I put in there. It works fine up until that last word on a given second or third line. And it's only off by 1 in that case. So it's like still counting them mostly right. So what is it about the word count? Do we have to... Oh, maybe it's catching... I think we're not accounting for a character... Okay, I think I know what it's maybe catching. Because if you look at this, we end on a 7, and then we start on a capital T. But if you look at the parameters we give it there is a space in here, and we're not counting that space. We're not counting that in the line count, and I think that's why it's off by 1. So I think if the character is a space... See, how do we do this? It's like... Yeah, how come it isn't adding the space? Because we only append it when we find a space. So the space that we're missing at the beginning of line 2 is actually counted as a line count on the previous line. Yeah, because if we end on a word at line 19, or yeah, if we end on a word at line 19, we're incrementing our line character count to 20 on the first line, when we really should put our line character count down to 1. So I guess we might have to strip out... How do we do this? Yeah, if the character... If we find a space and our if we find a space and our word count is 0, we need to set our line character count to 0. I think. Line character count. Yeah, okay, so let's try to do that. If we find a space and our word character count is 0, meaning we just added a word, then we know we're on a space character and we just added a word, so therefore the space character from the last word should be added to the total line count. So we can say if our line count, no, if our word count is equal to 0, that means we just added a word, and that means we need to account for the space that we just missed. And go ahead and do that. So if word character count is equal to 0, we're going to increment our line character count. I think we're actually going to have to flush this back to 0. We need to say, okay, well now we're at 0 for the line character count because we just found a space and our word count is 0, so we need to make sure our line character count. Yeah, I mean, do we? Let's see, because if we add it to the next line, then what we do is we do set this to 0. We set this to a word character count, but yeah, we're missing that first space on a new line. So I want to say that we only do this if we get to here. Like if we, well, no. Shoot. This is close. If we find a space and our word character count is 0, that means no, that is wrong. Shit. It's not that it's the word character count is 0, it's that the line count would be bigger than our threshold. So if our line character count is greater than our line length, then that's when we need to increment our line character count by 1 to account for the space that we neglected to add at the end of the previous line. And that might be it. That looks right. That looks right. So look, if we add one more character here, it'll push that to the next line. Oh my god, that fucking shit. That's not it. We're still messing it up. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I really thought that was it. Yeah, because the A there, this is even more a text now, isn't it? This is an AT. So we are still messing that up. This is close. I think what's wrong is this. We take our line character count. I think we just need to deduct 1. We need to basically undo the line character count that we added, because we added it to the wrong line. We added it when we were in line 1. And we need it to get to the point where if our line character count's bigger than that length, we need to take away, I think it's just 1. That, I'm hoping, fixes that off by 1 error. Shit, man. It has to be by the time we find a non-space. By the time we find a non-space, you know, if we find a letter and our line character count is already bigger than that, then we need to deduct our line character count by 1. I don't think that's right. Fuck. We're getting so close though. Like it's just an off by 1 error. Okay, let's walk it through. If we add, yeah, if we end a line 1 on a character space, on a character, not a space. If we end that, we only know it's a word, and we only know that word can fit on the line if we reach a space after that character that is a space, and then we're on line 1, and we go ahead and say, okay, well, let's go ahead and append that whole word, right, which is right here. We append that whole word, and then we say our line character count is gonna account for that space we just found, which on line 1, you know, as long as we're under our 19 characters, that's correct, and that'll give us the correct line count. But as soon as we're at the end of a line, as soon as we're past 19 characters or equal to 19 characters, we're adding this line count to the first line instead of the second. And that's why we don't get a space on the second line, even though there is a space in there. It's because the space is being neglected. So if it is a space, it's weird because it's like we don't ever append a space character, do we? We're only like this +1. If we didn't have this +1, there would be no spaces in our line at all. So it's weird because it's like we're okay, well, I'm totally wrong on that. Where are we incrementing the space? Where are we adding that space? Because if it's a space, we're going to go ahead and append the word character count. See, I think this is wrong. If it's a space, we need 1 less than the character. This is so bad. I'm confused where we're actually pulling that space now. Because I think the word character count is including the extra character for the space. Because every time, you know, well, we start it at 0. We start the word character count at 0. And we only increment it, word character count, we only increment it anytime we find a non-zero or non-space character. Then if we do find a space, we're going to append the word. See, I think this is copying over the space as well, which we technically want, but if we -1 here, it should be just appending the word itself and not the space past it. And then let's also try to do it here, -1. That should be just getting the words and not the spaces. Yes. Okay, so how do we say... Yeah, I think that was throwing us off. That was throwing off our character count, I think. But now we have to be able to say, like, also just add a space. It's, yeah, the issue here is... I think it's confusing because if it ends on a... Counting words based on finding a space only kind of works. Like, you know, if we end the character on a word, we still have to append that word. We don't know it's a word because we didn't find a space yet. So that's why we're saying right up here, if the index is equal to the length of our text, we're going to append the whole word, but then what we're doing is appending the word plus an extra space. That was almost it. That fixed the... Well, shit. No, that's not it. We missed... Yeah, we missed the space at the first word of the second and third line, and then we're printing stuff off page again. Ay, ay, ay. I think I'm gonna have to figure this out tomorrow. It's only off by one, and it's only off by one if we're on the second and third line. So that's why I was thinking it made sense that it was an issue for the character increment on a space find. Okay, this is a little weird because it's still messing up on... Now it's messing up at the end when it didn't used to be doing that. It is really close. Yeah, it's just... It's gotta be that issue. Because I'm thinking, you know, like we add... Once we find the space after the 7 here, then we're saying, okay, well, is the word length plus our current line length, which includes the space, less than or equal to our 19 character limit? And it is. So therefore, we add the word, we append the word to our current string, and then we also increment our line count by 1 to include that space, because we've needed that for every previous space. But then once we include that space as part of the string we implement, that's where it's a little confusing, because it's not like we're putting... It's like, yeah, it's not like we're copying over the space from the text. It's just that as we go to parse through it, once we find a space, we append the word all the way through the length of the space we just found. And that's how the space gets appended. It follows through. But then we go in and we find another word, and we find, you know, we ignore the space that we just found in this line, and then we count this string, and then once we find a space, we add the whole word to the current string, and somewhere somewhere here, I think our line count is getting off by 1. I think we need to... I don't know why. Like, I think our line character count is off by 1 at some point in that process. So let's see any line character count we do. We start at 0. And what we do, it's kind of interesting because we only modify our line character count once we find a word. And we only find a word once we find a space. So I think that might be screwing us somehow. But once we find... Yeah, if our line character count plus the word we're about to add is smaller than or equal to our limit, then we're going to go ahead and take our line character count incremented by the word we just added plus a space. Then reset our word character count to 0. Yeah. So then the line character count here, we never really get... Maybe right here. We might need to add a space here also. I think that might be it. Okay, I think that's it. We're counting for that at. It's moving that at to the next page. Okay, I think that's it. We weren't accounting for the space when we were adding to a new line. We just weren't accounting for the space. So the +1 is the space there. I think that's right. Let's try to put a better text in here. So like this is going to be like, this is a varied length text for testing, and we shall see if the lines are parsed correctly. How is it looking? Even working with humongous. How do you spell humongous? Humongous words. Okay, let's see. This is a varied length text for testing, and we shall see if the lines are parsed correctly. How is it looking? Even working with humongous words didn't work. That might be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That is a big word. I'm not expecting that many words, but the fact that it is wrong doesn't make me happy. It's mostly right, even working with humongous words. So why is it? It knows we have 3 pages, but it added humongous to the current line, even though it should have said, we should have been, we found, we didn't find a space. Let me see. Because is that still wrong? Because we find a word only if there's a space at the end there. So let's see if humongous words with a space at the end gets put on the proper line. How is it looking? Even working with humongous words. Yep. Okay, so we're still not counting the last word onto... I don't know if this is a big issue. I don't want to have to remember to put a space at the end of every text here. So maybe... I thought we fixed this by doing... Here, if it is a letter and our text index is equal to our character length, then we're appending to the string. Oh, but we're not checking if it fits on the current string or not. So we are adding it, but we're not adding it to the correct line, maybe. So we do need to do one more check to see if it fits on the current line. And we're doing that right here. Increment line number. We would also need to check if the line number is greater than 3 to add it to the next line also. So that I don't like that. But essentially, we just need this. And then we can say, if the text index is equal to the text length, then we're going to check oh god. Then we're going to check if the line character count plus the word character count is greater than that length. If it is, then we're going to increment the line we're on. Increment the total line count. If it's past 3, we're going to give us a new page. Then we're going to concatenate. It's essentially just this line now. But we would also need to break after that. Let's see. I don't think that broke anything. In the now, we should see the humongous words at the end there. But the true test is to see if we can get rid of the space right here. And if we can get rid of the space right here, then we know we're incrementing that line correctly, and we don't have to play that game of remembering that a space has to be at the end. Okay, that did work, but I don't see any example of text going all the way to the end. So let's make sure that is working. So this is, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So varied it should be the end of that. Okay, so here's the truth. If we can get it all the way flush to the right, thank God. Okay. I think that's it. Okay. And then one of the last things too is, like, you know, if there is a page length of greater than 1, we need to add the little flashing arrow to indicate that there's more text, right? And then if our current page is equal to the page length, then we don't have that. We have like a little X instead or something. Okay. This is it. Only took us 6 days. But that's awesome. That's awesome. And even that one was working now. Okay. That's awesome. We do need to fix the bug where if we pull up our inventory system, we crash. So we'll need to fix that. But that is good. That is really good. We fixed that. So tomorrow we'll probably do a little bit of cleanup for all of that we just did, because it's a mess there. We might... Yeah. We'll clean it up tomorrow. And we'll fix the bug, and then maybe we'll deploy the new text to the website. And then maybe we'll try to figure out how to apply the dialog box to NPCs. And then we'll have to work out how to do branching so that, you know, we get different stories from them and stuff, depending on game state. So that's going to be tough. But we've got multi-page dialogue boxes working, which is just really big. I think that's really big. So that's cool. Let's add this, and we'll say working parsing for multi-page dialogues. Cool. All right, so with that, we will call it a night. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll get some cleanup done and then maybe try to get the last polishing touches for that, like, that crash that we're getting when we pop up the inventory system. And we'll raid out to Hypnotic Games, and I will catch y'all later. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great night.